Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic Ligers, Celtic.
Oh, okay.
So
Hello
welcome
and
to
welcome.
CelticLigers.com.
Yes. I haven't changed it to the Patreon yet. And every time you say .com, it really takes me back. I'm like, fuck, we do have a doc. I say it every single time. I forget and remember that we have a website, which is very funny.
Yeah, we have a website. We have an online portal. We should do like the Harry Potter world thing.
Yeah, Pottermore, is it?
Yeah, but for us.
Yeah, and it'll be like, did you know that James also is gay?
Yeah. Did you know that Crash Bandicoot shits on the floor and wipes it away? Do you ever read that one? You read that one?
No.
Oh, did you not hear that? She was like, when the school was first made, there were no toilets.
What?
Honest to God. And wizards used to shit on the floor and magic it away. It's like, why did you feel the need to clarify?
Why did you? There's a bit in they have a Star Trek Next Generation sort of like reunion. I don't know what it was, but it was like an anniversary thing. So they had Jonathan Frakes walking around the set of the Starship Enterprise, kind of going like, here's the fucking laser room or whatever, and it goes on. But he goes to a map. He's like, a lot of people ask, where are the bathrooms on the Starship Enterprise? Well, they're right here, and he points to like right in the middle of the ship. And somebody posted the title of the video is "There's only one place to shit," right? Like, which is so funny. It's like, okay, so like the Starship Enterprise, you might not be able to tell because of like the kind of ropey CGI, but the ship is meant to be like, it's like the size of a county, basically. It's massive, do you know?
Okay.
There's like turbo lifts that take you between floors, but like the turbo lifts were used as an excuse to allow for conversations to happen. But the amount of floors they'd be passing down, there's like 30, 40 floors just you going forever and ever, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that there's one place in the middle of the ship where you're supposed to shit is very funny. But
funny.
it just, I mean, whatever. It's not like it's important. It doesn't matter.
No, it is important. No, it is. You're right to bring it up.
I love with the J.K. Rowling's one last thing was, she's kind of talking. A lot of people have speculated about this because she kind of like includes Irish people in it, but she has Ireland in the Quidditch World Cup in the fourth book, and Harry is in like the box that the best seats in the house because he's famous,
Yeah.
and so he meets the Prime Minister of Bulgaria and the Prime Minister of Britain, but he doesn't meet the Irish. He doesn't meet the Taoiseach in the Wizarding World.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have speculated that that's because Ireland is still part of the Commonwealth in the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, it's just like she kind of does this like, oh, fish and chips in a rolled up bit of newspaper, like of kind of merry old England, warm cobblestones type of depiction. And you kind of, oh, Seamus Finnegan, oh, he just makes stuff that blows up, wink, wink. And and then so everybody was like, how charming, how quaint. I love the Britishness of this. Everybody in America. And then all of a sudden they made a movie in America, but then in anticipation of this, she wrote up, oh, here's the wizarding history in America. And it was all to do with like, oh, it was like Native Americans called Pow Wow, hey, how are you? And
Were they?
And no, it wasn't. Like I'm exaggerating for effect, but like basically it was Native American stuff, and it was like, it was all these people were reading it going, but this is like racist and really reductive, and like it's the way she like just uses like Latin words to be like, oh, movio out of the way, oh, spell. Do you know what I mean? It's just Latin for that. It's like people are realizing like, but she's just lazily Wikipedia entry picked up some bits and decided to just use them as sort of like, this is the magic here. And it was like, yes, this is how it's always been. She's a fucking colonialist asshole.
I know.
Yeah.
I read someone trying to justify why Ireland was still in the UK. They were like, it's only for wizards.
Okay.
And they were like,
So the Irish are, yeah.
So like there's it is pure bullshit obviously, but it's like they calculated to there were only going to be like 3,000 wizards in Ireland.
Okay.
So it made sense for them to go to Hogwarts, and then for some reason that also meant that all the wizards were part of the UK. Because
well, then why is there only one Irish wizard? I mean, except for in the movies where they made Luna Lovegood Irish. I don't think she was Irish in the books, as far as I know.
No, I think just the actress was Irish.
Yeah.
And then you read about like Cho Chang, and apparently like where was she was like Korean or something, or Chinese, or
I think I can't remember. Yeah.
I remember reading that like none of it adds up. Like her name, her ethnicity, and the way she dresses are just like are completely different.
Her name is Cho Chang. I mean, just like.
Well, I don't know, but I have no idea what people are named. Could theoretically be a name.
I'm just saying, when a kind of middle-class white British woman comes up, what's my Chinese character going to be called?
Cho Chang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooga booga.
What about Ching Chong? No. What about Cho Chang? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know.
Yeah.
She like she was also part of the campaign to try and get Scotland to stay in the UK.
Yeah, she was like, I think she said Harry Potter would vote no on leaving. I loved when she did that, just the pure stuff. I was like, Harry Potter would have agreed that the mining unions were too strong. Yeah, and exactly. Although Dumbledore didn't like violence, he agreed that the police needed to crack heads.
And tell you somebody who's not anti-Semitic, Voldemort. And he's really bad. I'd say Jeremy Corbyn, that's worse than Voldemort.
Even
the character
Voldemort,
that I created.
Yeah. Or if she was like, someone didn't like she would just be like, the only black character didn't actually like the Black Lives Matter movement.
That'd be funny.
It was too disrespectful.
It's funny because, like, I think that the movie's actually
freaking awesome. Is that what you're gonna say?
But they're freaking awesome, man. No, they're like, no, that they kind of like exonerated her. Not exonerated her, but basically there was so much more diverse casting in the movies that it's like, oh well, that character's actually black, and I was like, well, go and read it. Are they black? You know what I mean? Like,
well, didn't she? Wasn't she like? She was like, Hermione was always black. Didn't she say something like that?
Well, I believe they made Hermione black for a play, and she kind of claimed retroactively, like, oh, it was kind of, she was coded black almost,
Yeah, which is essentially like, I was too cowardly to write her black, so.
Yeah.
Like,
to make that overt enough, that means that in the movies she has to be black,
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I threw up such a fuss when they cast Emma Watson, because I was like, no, she has to be black.
Yeah. And Cho Chang, she's also black.
Yeah. Hagrid, black.
Yeah. I wrote 3 black characters. See if you can guess who they are,
Yeah.
And
Hagrid, he like really loves Windrush, the Windrush scandal.
Oh yeah.
He agrees with what happened there.
That's it. He says it's not a scandal. He said it's just
repatriation.
It's just inevitable. It just has to happen sometimes.
What were you saying? They name the characters.
What?
You were saying, give me the names and the characters, and I'll tell you if they're black or not.
No, I was just saying she would say that.
Yeah. I remember one time when I was like huge into Harry Potter, and like the new book was coming out or had come out, and they were doing loads of like, interviewing everybody in her life and kind of, just to try and get a read on like the genius of J.K. Rowling. And a lot of times, like, it's kind of like, oh, Harry Potter, where'd it come from? Oh, my friend last name was Potter, and I thought it was cool, so I took it.
Yeah.
And all that stuff's fine. It's grand. But like, there was a point where I saw a Q&A with her, and somebody goes, where do Dementors come from? And she goes, oh, well, like,
Israel.
Really, No, she wouldn't say that.
No.
Because that's anti-Semitic.
Palestine.
Yeah. Yes, that's it, yeah.
What'd she say?
She said really dark places where, like, you know, there's no light getting in and kind of there's a lot of misery and they just kind of grow there. And I was just had in my head, I was like, oh, she's just making it up as she goes along. Like this, as a kid, like I thought that there was like some sort of structure to this world, but actually it's like she just pulls it out of her head, like whatever fucking, for the moment, whatever, they form in bad places, you know?
Well, this is the thing, it's so, like, I was really surprised at how popular Harry Potter was. When I read it, I liked it, and then I'd meet adults who liked it. And they seem to be really invested in the lore. And it's like, they seem to expect it all to make sense. And it's just like, can't you just enjoy that they were like a book you enjoyed? Because like,
somebody
at the start, J.K. Rowling probably wouldn't have said, oh, all this is like a deep and complex lore. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then probably she started making billions, and she was like, okay, I guess people expect this, so like, where do the manners come from? Okay, they come from behind the toilet, they come from under the sink.
Well, it's kind of like what Alan Moore said about Batman. He was like, I really regret putting the weight of kind of adult stuff onto this children's character.
Yeah, that's
but like she wouldn't be as introspective.
Oh no, she wouldn't regret it, but I think it's just a task now she does, because legions of adult fans demand like it ought to make sense.
Yeah, because there was some guy I watched.
Like, even, I mean, it doesn't make sense. One thing that got to me, well, it didn't get to me, but I realised it didn't make sense, is like, why are the spells in Latin?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know.
That doesn't need to be, but it's just like, it's just a thing. It's just like one of the
it always kind of
aesthetics of it.
It kind of bugged me that they needed wands, and then every so often Harry would do a spell and it would not require the wand at all.
I never liked the wands, because I was like, if it's a natural ability, why do you need a wand? You know?
Yeah.
And then, like you say, Harry sometimes did spells without wands. And then he sometimes did spells without saying anything. Like when you're one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When his aunt or something, her head explodes.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, I was like 11 when I was reading that, and I was like, this annoys me, but now I'm just like, I know it's just because you need to tell a story, you know?
Well, about the weight as well, is the other thing about it is, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I watched a video series on YouTube about the cursed child, because I didn't want to see the play, I didn't want to read it, I just wanted somebody to tell me what the fuck is this, you know, this additional thing that she wrote that was like a play about Harry Potter and like what happened to him afterwards. And so this guy broke it down, and it sounds incredibly bad. And
what happens?
Oh god, I can't even remember, but it involves like kind of time travel at some point, and it's like Harry's son is like in Hogwarts, and he's actually kind of a shit wizard, so he's finding it very hard to live up to his father, and there's tension between them, you know. But anyhow, like I can't remember it all, but this guy had kind of gone, here's ways that I think it could be better, and so he like wrote up like a kind of thing, and his one sounded a lot better, I remember that much at least. And but he kind of, you know, in the kind of preamble to these videos, he kind of breaks down why he thinks the story is the way that it is and how the series went. But one of the things he pointed out, which I thought was interesting, is like the first 3 books are just mystery books. It's like they go to the school, something happens, oh, what is it? And then they uncover it by the end, and that's kind of what got people hooked into it. They're like, you know, there's like, oh, and that's, you know, whatever they need for that particular book, everything before or after it doesn't exist. Do you know, it's like a James Bond thing. It's just a little mystery novel. They go to school that year, and everything wraps up by the end of the school year. And it's a simple children's thing. And he's like, it's a perfect formula, and it's kind of keeps you engaged. Actually, the 4th one was even sort of a mystery novel as well. But then in the 5th one and the 6th one, they kind of lose that, and it starts to become like this kind of something different, where it's like a battle of like wizards, and there's all this fucking, you know, personal drama between him and his uncle, or him struggling with the stuff that he has to do, and the length of the books as well. I think the length of the books was because I remember in the original books when I was reading, like, as a kid, they used to have like letters sections at the back of the books.
Yeah.
And the letters always said, please make it longer, because I love like the length. I love when the books are long. So I genuinely think that the reason she made them longer was because kids were asking, you know?
Yeah.
And so as a result of this, it's like you just have like 400, 500 pages of like nothing in particular happening because there's no mystery anymore. And just these dense books of like Harry having his breakfast or going to a Quidditch match or something like that.
I love that. I loved when they were long. I was one of those kids.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I remember when I was reading the fifth one, I was not enjoying it. And then when I got to the end, I was particularly annoyed. And then the sixth one I thought was really bad. But the seventh one, that was kind of a mystery again, a little bit. It wasn't really. It was just, there was an angle on it anyway.
No, I remember loving them so much that I was just like, this is great. An extra 300 pages of just chilling out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it does make good. It makes good for like, if you're hanging out with the characters and like building up that world, you know?
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It really does mystify me why people like them so much.
Yeah. But
because like,
but yeah, now that it's
anything I like doesn't tend to have that fandom, you know, like with Game of Thrones, people loved it, but like maybe it's just because the ending was so bad. But once it ended, people were just like, okay, that's, you know, sort of self-contained there. So people aren't just endlessly speculating about. But
I think you have like a host of characters, and there's also a consistency, because one thing you have to say about her is that like each book feels of the same. Like, I mean, besides the sprawling story that kind of keeps out all of the characters and all the stuff, and in the interactions, everything is like consistent. There's no like out of left field thing, except when you get to the more recent movies with your man, what's his name, Newt Scamander.
I don't know who's that. Who's that?
You know, the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, like they just get very confusing at that point. Like they start to break consistency.
Oh, really?
Well, there's a character in it who becomes like, apparently if you're a magic person or a wizard, you know, then if you don't use your magic, then you basically turn into a big fucking black cloud.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
No, but it's a fierce black cloud that just flies around destroying all of New York in this movie, and like, you know, there was also like he met like this muggle, and then he goes like, oh, we're friends, but I have to wipe your memory at the end. And then I watched the start of the sequel, and the guy just appears again. He's like, oh well, actually I remember you now. That was literally how they started off. He was like, I remember. He was like, but I wiped your memory, and he was like, oh no, it wore off.
Oh.
It's just like, what? It was like, you know, because that was the thing that she at least did. She was always very, like, and that George R. R. Martin does, is that they're like, okay, what parts have I left spinning out there? What can I return to? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? They always tied up kind of loose ends.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. George, loose ends annoy me.
What?
The freaking loose ends on Gino Kelly's tracksuit.
Gino Kenny's tracksuit, and yes.
Which one is it? Kenny or Kenny? Gino Kenny. Right, I've already read it. I've never heard it pronounced.
Yeah, it's two N's. I just presumed that they would make the L sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have a tweet in front of me here from Nico Kanvanchek, who says, I don't like commenting on people's appearance, but this is just disrespectful to the Dáil and his constituents. Have a wee bit of respect and wear a shirt at least. It is the Dáil, not your juice bar.
So Gino Kenny, thank you, is a PvP TD, and he wore his cycling, well, he wore a tracksuit, but it was also like a cycling gear, into the Dáil in the convention centre. Where is this?
Paul Paul. This is yesterday. Paul. No, 2 days ago.
Yeah, but what
Paul
day?
Murphy.
What day is it?
Oh, sorry.
Thursday the 26th or something.
6th.
Yeah, Paul Murphy said it was because he had nowhere to like. There's no offices, so he had nowhere to like change his clothes, basically.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
But it's like you also
in
just
the convention center.
The whole thing is like, if you're worried about what people are wearing,
yeah,
it's like it's just so beside the point. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he's talking about like you need to have respect in the dolls. Like, well, they're not even like they're in the convention center. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I mean, even besides that, it's just I don't know. Just wearing a tracksuit isn't showing disrespect.
Yeah.
You know, like,
as to quote, what was it? The Emma Kerwin quote that's been going around. It wasn't guys in tracksuits who ruined the country. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, obviously there's that point, but then there's the point where it's like, it's not like Mick Wallace's string vest, which was meant to be a statement. This is just a guy who's like, oh fuck, I need to get into the chambers, and I don't have time to change, and I don't have anywhere to change. So
but,
it wasn't like a conscious statement, and even if it was, like, who gives a fuck, you know?
Well, yeah, he's just wearing what he wears, you know?
Yeah.
And like this whole thing about wearing suits, people pretend like that's neutral, you know?
Yes.
But like suits are a signifier, you know?
They're a status symbol as well.
Yeah, so like being like, oh, respect the doll, it's like they're doing more than just respect, like they're really signifying a status. Like they're just by wearing a nice suit, you're positioning yourself in the social structure or the political structure. So like just pretending like wearing a suit is the completely neutral thing and completely familiar to everybody, and just like I don't know, it's just sort of so thick, like particularly when it's sort of a thread, isn't it, this thing?
Yeah, I wanted to pull it up because Aoife Moore shared it. So the opening line of Nico's statement was, I don't like commenting on people's appearances, and Aoife Moore retweeted it going, if you don't like it, don't do it, you know.
Yeah.
She's just like, I think she continued on, I can't remember the tweet, but basically it's like all these people, it's like, I hate to be the one to bring this up, but, and it's like, just don't then, just fucking shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, this guy, I saw some other tweets sort of saying, doesn't he get paid well enough to wear a suit, all this sort of stuff. And then I mean, there's just a bag of classism off it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's inherent. Yeah, but I mean, think also like the fucking West Wing deification of the doll as like this place of great reverence and respect. It's like it's not like there's decorum. I mean, I'm not using that in the kind of way that the fucking Can Corla would, but like decorum in that, like, in order to carry out business, there are certain things you need to adhere to allow for discussion to take place and for motions to pass, etc. But having a suit does not require any of that, and it's like it doesn't mean anything. It's I don't know. And basically, what I was saying is I don't think that the doll is worthy of respect. I think there's plenty of fucking decisions that ruin people's lives, you know?
Well, yeah, like I really think that the doll should be viewed as like a workplace rather than some weird, rather than be viewed with reverence, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think he came out, or someone was saying, like, you know, PvP are the ones who donate their, they take the average industrial salary, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And they donate the rest of the money to, like, a political fund.
Yeah.
To help other people. And it's just like, that's a much better use of your money than spending it on a suit. Like, this isn't even just like, me being, what's the word? Like, a contrarian, you know? It's like, oh, Fine Gael wear suits or whatever. It's just like, it's just so beside the point to comment on what someone's wearing. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Unless they're wearing something that is, like, supposed to be offensive or something like that, you know?
Or if it's just like Mick Wallace, and even then I think it's only to laugh at Mick Wallace, not to be like, oh, like, this is the chambers that he's in are so hallowed. But, like... How dare he wear just a fucking thong?
That's it, like... I mean, Mick Wallace, I don't even know where he... Like, he They're the weirdest clothes to wear in. But like, I don't even know where I'd buy a string vest. But I do always think it was a good point. You know, it's like they were coming in at a time when the country had been fucked, and then people are giving out that he's not wearing a suit, and he's just like, why does that matter? Like, this isn't the best place on earth. I'll just wear whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
I'll just wear what I want.
It's just their fucking. I mean, you know, obviously it should represent the people who actually, you know, make up this country. People going in, and you know, they don't all wear suits. And then the other thing is, it's kind of betraying the pageantries, and like you're just watching it as like a TV show, you know. Especially this guy Nico Kanvanchek, who is the Monaghan CDC Fianna Fáil youth officer, age 18.
Such a weird job.
Can't be too harsh.
Like how?
But
I don't even understand what that. Like we were trying to figure this out earlier. It's like what was it?
I don't know what CDC means, but it said Center for Disease Control, but I think that's it doesn't feel like that's.
It doesn't feel like that needs a youth officer, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he in college or is he PR at Beta Europe? Yeah, Beta is right.
Yeah, freaking Beta.
But he wrote that comment, and then somebody replied underneath it, "Can you please just try having one take that isn't shit?" And he wrote, "Well, I care about our public reps doing their jobs and respecting the Dáil. Do you not?" And then this guy, Porrick Nestor, replies, "There's plenty of politicians from your party, Fianna Fáil, and others that have been corrupt and dishonest. I view that as disrespecting the Dáil, not a lad wearing a tracksuit." And then he writes this, which is my favourite tweet. I retweeted it going like, remarkable, okay?
Yeah.
"A lad, here now, there is not a single member of the party at this point in time who is either corrupt or dishonest. That time is long gone. You all need something more original, like."
I mean, that 18-year-old has been successfully brainwashed, you know? Like, has been fucking groomed into being in this position. Because, like, that's such just... Nah, come on. Even you must admit, there's no one corrupt in here. You're just being contrarian. It's like, you do not know what's going on.
Not even like to just go... You know, well, I think he couldn't say this because your man has the Porrickness, has it in his bio that he's in the Soc Dems. So I don't think that he could be like, you know, sure, Sinn Féin, aren't they in the fucking Ra? Do you know what I mean? He can't use that, you know? But I was like, I 100% believe that this guy thinks that Sinn Féin are still in the IRA, or that we should still hold them account for the bombing of Mountbatten or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know. He's Fianna Fáil, is he? Is that what? They're not so bad about the anti-Fianna Fáil, anti-Sinn Féin stuff, but like...
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I'd say he just genuinely believes, like, nah, they sorted out the corruption, you know? Because think about it, the recession happened when he was, what, 8? 6?
Yeah,
6?
about that. Yeah.
So he's just like, no, that's a really long time ago. They sorted all that out, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be like if if my parents were talking to me about East Germany or East Berlin or something, you know?
Maybe. I mean, a lot of people are listing off in the comments all the people who are corrupt.
I know. I'm just saying...
I guess it wasn't the obvious corruption that was in the news every day, but somebody has posted a picture of Bertie, Brian Cowan and Micheál Martin together, so it's like the leader of the party was present for all of these, if not involved in any of that stuff.
Well, that's why I'm saying he's being groomed. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not getting both sides of any story here.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just trying to wind people up. That could be it too.
I doubt it. Oh, I wonder what...
Long gone. It's not long gone. You know what I mean? Like,
but what I'm saying
is, you can say it's gone. But
if it happened when you were 6, you can imagine it. Saying it's long gone.
Yeah, I suppose. That's half my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder who his dad is.
I don't know.
I was going to say his mom, but probably not in Fianna Fáil. But I wonder who his parents are.
I don't know. Is it too much to say his name? Like him being Niko Kavacek, you know, like it's a very Polish sounding name. I just wonder if his parents are even like Irish.
Yeah, but it's just having like being Fianna Fáil, blah blah blah, at 18.
Yeah.
Normally you need a bit of a leg up. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I mean that's what I mean. It's kind of strange because you think it would be a legacy thing, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's the new generation of people who've come here and are just like Fianna Fáil sounds good, and they're kind of don't, like if you're living in a household that's political in that way, you will hear like stories about all the parties, But if you were somebody who was getting into politics as kind of the first generation of your family, then you would be kind of looking at it going, which one suits me? I guess I'll read the websites and try to figure this out.
But you can imagine, even if your dad was Polish, he could still be involved in local politics. So maybe his mum could be Irish and she's involved. It could still be. Yeah. We don't know. Like he's just some Twitter guy, but
just making some wild observations
about some 18-year-old
with generalizations. He's retweeting Barry Cowan. Brilliant. He's got a good little Twitter. I'd highly recommend to follow. What's he done?
Yeah.
He's tweeted Rory's stories.
What's he saying?
It's a picture of Rory's stories. So Kieran Malooly writes, "It's a night when I really love two things about this country. A, Ryan Tubridy's boundless energy in presenting the toy show. B, the non-whinge happy stream to Twitter that invades the internet while it's on. Magic night, great stories, real heroes, just enjoy." Picture of Rory's stories post on Facebook saying, on Twitter, sorry. "For me, the toy show isn't about toys. It's about each year a special child gets recognised. This year, Saoirse was magic."
Who said this?
Rory's story said that.
Wow.
But this guy just took a screen grab of that and retweeted that along with his other tweet.
Man, that's some fandom right there, isn't it? I got a retweet here from Spin Fein.
Did you?
Yeah. Or
we got retweeted by him.
Well, I asked him a question.
Uh-huh.
This is the kind I've been following for the listeners at home, who is obviously some sort of Fine Gael astroturf. But it's almost just trying to figure out whose account it is. Because he just tweets out stuff like, let me see. "Top communications from the government today, clear, concise and cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on to the Late Late Show. Or the Late Late Toy Show. Best of luck to Ryan and all the gang." That's not the most... Or, Helen McEntee should be the future Fine Gael leader and Taoiseach.
That is bizarre.
So
when was that posted? When did he tweet that?
Yesterday, So anyway,
what the fuck?
So I responded to the Late Late Toy Show one, and I said, honest question, because I've been sort of saying, every so often I'll retweet something being like, "This is amazing,"
Yeah.
But I'm obviously being sarcastic. He takes it for face value. So I responded to one of his tweets saying, honest question, what do you make of people saying you're a Fine Gael AstroTurf account?
Mm-hmm.
And he retweeted that, and he says, "People who claim this are simply incorrect. I'm very fair in my political analysis. I've said..."
His handle is Spin Fein.
"I've said for a fortnight that Minister McEntee should have taken questions in the door.
No, you...
And to conclude, I have more of a dislike and distrust for Sinn Féin than I have a love for any political party." Second tweet. "What I will say is that Fine Gael have been very slick in their political practice since Enda, but it has only gotten better with Leo and Simon. Fine Gael is going places.
Oh my god.
What is wrong with saying this?"
Oh my god.
This guy rules.
I love
and
it.
His name is Spin Fein, and then the scales of justice.
I want to say, because I've heard that people are using this as a source of what's happening apparently.
Wait.
In Ireland.
Sorry, one thing. Pader Turbine speaking freely without Sinn Féin shysters constantly being on his back and restraining him is very refreshing. Again, hopefully a lot of Sinn Féin protest vote will shift to Aon2 this time round. Next time round.
Oh my god. I mean, I'm really struggling with this. Like, I just can't.
I love him. He's so good. It's just like, because the other thing, he's always like, fuck Sinn Féin and all this sort of stuff and giving out. And then he's like, hey, I gotta say, I don't see what's so bad about RTE Gate. It's like, that's the only positive thing I've ever seen him say, except for like Fine Gael. So he obviously just,
I hate, when they do that. Like, did I tell you one time there was a guy that I was like friends with when I was in secondary school, and he was kind of very apolitical, goofy, did a lot of drugs and just a fun chap. And then one day I posted up something like, Steve Bannon has a face that looks like a slice of pizza or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And he got underneath giving out about me saying something about Steve Bannon. He's like, and it sounded like he was trying to be a free speech kind of guy, just go like, hey, he should be allowed to say what he wants. And I was like, what is Steve Bannon to you? Like, what do you think of him? And he's just like, he's a complex guy, kind of just like trying to figure it out. Like he was like trying to pretend like, oh, I'm just trying to see it from both sides. But it's clear that's like, oh no, I like Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
And I was just like, anyway, it's one of those things. It's the same situation where you're just like, but anyway, my thesis with that guy is that you just fried his fucking brain. Because, like, I don't know how you could look at Steve Bannon and be like, this makes sense. He never struck me as a like somebody who was so violently right wing. This guy that I knew in secondary school.
Yeah.
He's in Galway, hanging out with like fucking hippies every day. Do you know? He's like part of the cosmic right.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and we were talking about like conspiracy theories and fascism and like socialism, right?
Yeah.
And now they're all the same thing. No, but a lot of the time they come from a very correct feeling, and it's like people look at the world and they're like, something's not quite right here, which is correct. It's a correct way to feel, and then they like look for a lens to view things through.
Yeah.
And like Steve Bannon, when you read a lot of the stuff he was saying, he was sort of like he described himself as a Leninist,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Which, I mean, it's like, politically he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
As in, he wasn't like a communist or whatever. But Lenin did have that idea that, there's the vanguard who brought about the revolution. I think this was Lenin. So like, you needed to sort of tear down the world and then rebuild it, and it was like an elite, not an elite, but like a forward thinking group of people who would bring the revolution about.
Yeah.
And that you couldn't imagine life after the revolution because it was so fundamentally different,
Yeah.
That's my understanding of it. So like,
yeah, no, that makes sense.
If you're like a Galway hippie, so that's could be quite appealing to you. But then obviously, like, I don't know how you justify that with all the racism and homophobia and conservative politics,
Well, they'd be like, use the Jordan Peterson thing. He actually never said that,
Yeah.
Like, Bannon talks, I mean, I think that there's definitely tape out there of him talking about races being superior or all this type of stuff. But
he was Breitbart, and they had a section specifically devoted to black crime.
Yeah.
Like, he is overtly racist.
But I think for his time in the kind of political spotlight and the kind of disruptor era with Trump, it was largely implied,
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't overt. It wasn't like Richard Spencer, who's like talking to black people going like, you are like straight to their face going, there's like a thing with Richard Spencer being interviewed by like a BBC or a Channel 4 reporter who's black. And he's going, so you think, the reporter's like, so you think I'm inferior? He's like, yes, I think you're inferior. I think you're not as smart as me. You're not. And then, all this type of stuff, like just saying it to their face. Whereas Bannon would be like, listen, we all know, don't we? And then kind of skirt over that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but like, I think that also, maybe this is a bit... All I know is that when I was like a teenager getting all my kind of information from the internet, I tended to believe broad stereotypes about people. Now, I didn't believe that people should be punished or that people should be like, you know, sequestered, I guess, or put into separate camps, you know?
Yeah.
But I did believe that there were like fundamental truths about certain groups of people in society, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying races, I'm just saying in every walk of life. I was like, oh yeah, you know, like a fucking 90s mid-aughts comedian. Men are like this and women are like this,
yeah.
you know?
Castle Bar people are like this.
Yeah, shit like that, where it's like people can be put into camps, and you know, when you make the generalizations that Bannon would make on a low-key way now that he's in the public spotlight, then you could kind of be like, makes sense to me, you know, that's what I've seen. And it's like, but you haven't seen that. You know what I mean? Like that you see, like from the internet, you were fed this thing about like, well, this is what, like, you think that you have an opinion about what black people are like in America because you see them through like fucking articles on the internet, because you don't realize that the press, no matter in every fucking type of press, is completely subjective, do you know?
Yeah.
And you also look at it as in like, well, what if that happened to me, do you know? Like one of the things I heard of like Opie and Anthony, they had like Louis C.K. on, which, you know, R.I.P. his reputation and all the shitty things he does. I'm not excusing them, but it was great to hear him talking with like out and out racist and borderline fascist, and kind of saying to them like, well, here's where you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so one of the ones was Opie, who's like a fucking racist, you know, and he was like, I lived in these poor neighborhoods and I was, you know, I was the victim of violence from these black people, and like they were stealing all the time and I was poor and I never stole, you know?
Yeah.
And Louis C.K. just having to calmly explain, like, you know, it's not like slavery ended and everything was just fine. Do you know what I mean? It's like you navigate the world differently to those people and you don't know what's going on in their lives. And he's like, I do know. Are you telling me that I don't know? Because I was poor. And it's like, but either way, those were like the discussions that I was kind of like seeping in. I thought that there were people were some way, rather than like a person is different to another person. There aren't groups of people who are just like acting in one way, do you know?
Yeah.
So anyhow, I could see, but I grew out of that, whereas I don't think this guy did. I think he just continued to consume stuff from the internet and become more entrenched about these camps, and like something needs to be done about this type of delinquency, do you know? And like I think that thing of Bannon is very appealing in that way, because he does talk in like tech bros speak of disruption and just changing things. But you have to just kind of be wary. It's like, what's he selling? And who are the people he's associating with? And what's his past like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, to them, it's like, oh yeah, he's talking about them, but he doesn't really mean out and out racism. They're up against the wall and we're fucking putting cattle guns to the back of their neck, do you know what I mean? Or head, you know? But like, if you look at Bannon, it's like, it is a hop, skip, and a jump away from that. His support of like Viktor Orban and the stuff that's Bolsonaro, do you know what I mean? Those are people who are advocating and agitating for like the mass murder of a group of people, do you know?
Oh yeah, they're looking for like real, what's the word, genocide.
Yeah, he genuinely believes that the genocide will cause the disruption, but he kind of knows he's not stupid enough to say it out loud, do you know?
Yeah.
But anyhow, outing myself as a fucking bro in the day.
Well, I mean, I was also like that, you know. You like, particularly as a teenager, you have like a desire for coherency. You just want things to make sense. Yeah. So if you're just like, well, this is predictable now, you know, men act like this, women act like this. This allows me to navigate. And also like when you see a woman then act in another way, you can then be like, well, she's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to reevaluate this. I just know that women shouldn't act like that and she's acting like that. So I don't need to engage here.
It's also,
you know,
there's also a kind of to me anyway, in the school that I was in, I kind of felt pretty alien from my peers. I didn't really like the same stuff that they like, and so I had to believe myself as a highbrow thinker, you know.
Yeah.
So the guys who were talking about stuff and engaging in issues. Do you know what I mean? Like those type of, like, you know, the Richard Dawkins type. I didn't really go to Richard Dawkins or whatever, but I'm saying that type of thing, do you know, where it's like, oh, we're just asking questions and being high-minded. But now there's like more of that out there than ever, and like with fucking Joe Rogan and, like, you know, I mean, I don't think Joe Rogan is the great philosopher of our time, but I feel like he indulges that part of your brain if you're a teenager.
Big
you know,
time.
you feel like you're, and that's why, like, I remember when Jordan Peterson and who's that racist, that guy, he's got a big podcast. God, I can't remember him now. And he was interviewing Jordan Peterson in The Point, and The Point was sold out. The whole 3 Arena.
Yes.
It was just like,
and
you see like
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris, yeah, and you see all these people in there, and they're like, you know, like they're all teenagers, and I was like, there was a part of me which is like, they're before the grace of God, you know?
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
I know.
Like I would have thought that I was going to like these titans of intellectualism talking about something. My fucking father having to sit in that place with me, you know?
But like one of the reasons why those things are so appealing to teenagers is that, like, say you went to Joe Rogan, like, if you use a term Joe Rogan didn't like, or you didn't know something, like, he would be interested in explaining to you something. You know what I mean? He would, like, he'd be like, oh, I don't think like that. This is how I think. You know what I mean? Say you were I think drugs are for losers. You know?
Yeah.
And if you do drugs, you're like a degenerate. He'd be like, no way, dude. Like, here's all the research, and here's why DMT is like the thing that releases in your brain before you die, and actually it's really good, but I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, they're very welcoming, and like people like Joe Rogan are very open to ideas, and then he seems unable to challenge ideas, and also you get people like Ben Shapiro who, like, one of the things he's like, you sort of have two groups there. You have people like Joe Rogan who I think are like intellectually honest. Do you know what I mean? He's just like, I don't know, I want to know the truth, as he imagines it to be. And then you have Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro doesn't make real arguments, because part of what he, like, is this, there's that Sartre quote where he's like, you don't argue with fascists because they know what they're saying is untrue. They're sort of just occupying your time while they get the work done, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, you don't argue with them about anti-Semitism because at the end of the day, they don't care what you think.
Yeah.
They're just using it as a vehicle for fascism. And that's what people like Ben Shapiro do, people like Richard Spencer. So they go on and they're sort of like occupying someone like Joe Rogan.
Well, they're just trying to be nice as well, and that's the other thing. Is like they need to, you know.
But they're also
like
Ben Shapiro does. Like, when you see him debate somebody, like, he's really intense. But then, sort of at the end of it, I've seen him be like, he'll like hammer the points in a really obnoxious way. But he sort of is like promoting this idea that, you know, it's good you ask a question, you know?
Yeah.
Which is just not something you see online in the left. I'm not saying you don't see it in real life, or it's not part of the left, but like online, you frequently see people jumping down each other's throats about not saying the right thing. You know, like, you won ContraPoints, she got cancelled, saying the wrong thing, or like, just loads of like big Twitter accounts or big...
There was one that I remembered years ago where Chelsea Manning went to... She was like out of prison, and she went, like, recently released from prison, and attended a talk with somebody who... of somebody who was kind of... People were like, oh, they're like kind of basically super right-wing and kind of fascist-leaning. And they were trying to cancel like Chelsea Manning. And it was just that feeling of like... You know, that's an important person. You have somebody who leaked documents, who went to prison, who maybe didn't know the person they were going to. And even if they did, it's like, why do you care so much? Do you know?
Exactly. Or like,
I can't remember who it was. Maybe I hope it wasn't Richard Spencer or somebody, because then that would be less defensible. But
But even then, like, why wouldn't you engage? You know what I mean? Like, if you were like, why did you go there? You know, like, I obviously respect you. All right, like I did. So like, why did you go to that place? Because I don't think you should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't see this in the right or you just don't see it everywhere, but like, I feel like with this very particular movement on the right, with these people like Ben Shapiro or Joe Rogan or whatever, they have they give people a warm reception, you know, in a way that it isn't present with the online left.
Like, for example, and I think, you know, I agree, and you know, it's kind of like I agree and disagree almost, where I'm just like, what you said was like, true, which is like, oh, that exists on the right and all that stuff. But the part where I agree is, can you imagine somebody on the right going, I'm not going to do the reading for you. You have to do the research yourself.
Yeah.
They would never do that.
Oh, no.
They would never miss an opportunity to be like, here's to read. Like I went, I tried to comment on a thing. I think I mentioned this on the podcast ages ago, but this guy was giving out about Venezuela, saying they're eating rats there. And I was like, oh, I don't know about Venezuela. Do you have an article? And he just sent me an article immediately.
Yeah.
He had one in the chamber. He's like, I want you to think what I think.
Yeah.
He's not like lecturing you on the idea of like, you know, but like I also think with Joe Rogan, like people say that a lot, where he's like, oh, you said he's intellectually honest, which is the best way to put it. Some people say he's intellectually curious, and it's like, I don't think he is, because I think that he enters into it knowing what he knows, and then he only seems to retain the information that reaffirms that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's got a great memory for stuff when it comes to like the wage gap and all this type of stuff, and he'll shoot the wage gap myth, as he would put it.
Yeah.
And he's got a great knowledge for like right wing stuff, but he you know, he will like, remember when he fired off on that article which was about like, oh, Antifa are setting fires up in the hill. He didn't need any more validation or confirmation about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he does have like a host of, I've always said this about him as well, like his variety, I think it's gotten better over the years now because of the kind of rising left-wing commentators that are appearing. But it was his left-right divide would be like, I'm going to invite on Ben Shapiro, whose entire job is arguing with the left, okay?
Yeah.
And then to have the left on, I'll have like Scroobius Pip, because, you know, he said that he liked gay marriage sometime. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a fair, like, there's never a kind of person from the left.
But
who,
here's a question.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that people from the left would be as open to going on it? So, like, Bernie Sanders went on it. You can imagine, like, Brianna Joy Gray going on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a lot of people you couldn't imagine going on it in the way that Ben Shapiro would. Yeah.
Like AOC wouldn't go on, and Warren, although Warren tried to go on. But he also said, like, he said that Warren and Biden, and I mean, Biden is not on the left. What I'm saying is there's people who try to get on the podcast, but he's not interested in having them. But they were politicians. Okay, yeah. I guess
like he had Bernie. Like, who are the two? He said that someone asked him who would he vote for, and he said Bernie.
I think it
or
was
someone.
And Andrew Yang, probably.
No, I think it could have been like, they thought she was might be VP at one point.
Kamala Harris?
No.
Oh no, sorry, Stacey Abrams.
No, the other one. It was like the weird.
Oh, Amy Klobuchar.
I think it was her. It was someone like, why her? But so like, he definitely has less of an interest in the left, and like less of a. You're right in that, like, he probably has a lot of right wing people he's interested in, but I do also feel like people from the, like, when Bernie went on it, people used his ammunition against him, you know, and it was seen as like legitimate ammunition by a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
he said, especially when he went to the Fox Town Hall as well. Anytime he tried to do the thing that they're saying Biden will achieve, which is like, oh, he'll court right wing voters. Anytime Bernie tried to do that, it was used as a cudgel against him.
Exactly. So, like, I mean, people didn't want him to go on. One of the reasons was he was because of comments, obviously
transphobic comments. Yeah,
and I don't know what they were. I don't doubt that they were transphobic, but like, ultimately, you still need to talk to people like that. Otherwise, how are they going to change their minds? Do you know what I mean? How are you going to?
Yeah.
That's the.
I think. Yeah.
What?
No, the Yeah, no, I didn't. I forgot what I was gonna say. What was the other thing though? Oh yeah, one of the guests he has on. He doesn't have. I mean, they might have changed recently, but I was looking down through the list of guests on the episodes just to be like, is there some like who's on the left? I didn't make it very far because it does so many episodes. I was like, I'm not reading all of this.
So you do an episode every day,
you know? I don't know.
Does he do like 3 a week? I feel like he does.
I don't get his schedule. I don't understand it.
Well, like, I know that. And the one thing I like is that the episodes, part of the episodes go on for as long as they need to, which is an interesting idea. Like he's never feels the need to wrap up a conversation. Basically, he's just like, this needs to go on for 5 hours. That's fine, you know.
It's funny because here's another thing. Hillary goes on Howard Stern, who would have been like the kind of. I mean, he's a bit more left wing. I think, you know, but like he's ostensibly like a conservative fucking radio talk show host kind of guy, shock jock.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But the Democrats would probably, like Obama would probably go on Howard Stern, but Howard Stern had like porn stars on Sibians, you know what I mean? Like having a fucking competition who could get off the fastest. Do you know what I mean?
Did what?
Like this is something like the stuff that they had like porn stars on like those like sex machines, you know, the Sibians.
Yeah.
And they're like seeing who can get off the fastest and stuff like this. And like he did stuff to kind of like, you know, push the boundaries
or even that old thing
public
with
radio.
What was it, Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice, yeah.
Like an intellectually disabled guy clearly just ripping the piss out of him for like 10 years. You know? It's like not the wokest thing imaginable, you know?
Yeah. But because like he's seen as some sort of transgressive figure, then it's like, oh, Hillary Clinton, she can go on that podcast or his radio show because it's like, you know, it's outreach, but also it's like, you know, humanizes you. And like, and also they go to WWE all the time, do you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just like this is how you reach out to the fucking rubes as far as they're concerned. But you know, and they all wanted to go on Rogan and then they couldn't get on Rogan. But what was my whole point? I don't know. I guess that was it. But the one I wanted to say about the guests was Abby Martin is on regularly and she's pretty good. Like
who's she?
I don't know if she's she has Media Roots Radio, but she's does a lot of documentaries in South America where she talks about Venezuela and socialism and tries to dispel some of the media narratives around that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And but
like again, I think with Joe Rogan, you're seeing someone who's correctly analyzing that society isn't, you know, not everything's okay. But then he just has people like Ben Shapiro who can provide this very satisfying thing of like, Judeo-Christian values are the reason why everything's fucked up, or like, the free market is the reason. You know, like, you know that thing you heard about, like the free market. Well, that is actually the solution. It's just we have to implement it the right way. Like that's very, very easy to get on board with if you're American and have gone through their education system. You know.
Yeah, I think the other thing about it that's intimidating though is that it's hard. He is like. I think Adam Buxton was interviewing Bill Burr and he said that Joe Rogan entered the room and he just got very uncomfortable because the both of them were like shooting the breeze like fucking lads, you know what I mean? Like, you fucking prick, you fuck. And he's like, oh, it's not my energy. It's like, he kind of, he admits to like liking observing this stuff, but when he's in the room on that, like, you know, the majority of like his guests seem to be men is what I'm saying. And there's also this kind of like, I don't know, there is a welcoming thing for people who are watching it, but as far as guests who come in, it's like, you know, I don't know, I would be fucking I mean, obviously I wouldn't go on anyway, but like if I were somebody who was like a fan of Joe Rogan, I don't think I'd be like, I want to sit in that room and have a conversation with
I'd love to go in.
Really?
Yeah, I think it looks like such good fun, but like, I guess I could see why I wouldn't be welcoming certain people. Like, I'm not saying he's a neutral guy, or that he doesn't have like, I'm not being like, biases. Oh, he just, is completely objective. I'm saying, there's just a mechanism there you can see happening, and like, which is why he's so appealing, and why he's also useful for like people with extremely right wing or conservative viewpoints, Can
I say the one thing I wanted to link in was that I found a lot of similarities between that and Stephanie Preisner's podcast.
Oh yeah.
And what a tantalizing place to leave it. But leave it we must, as we went on to talk for about an hour longer about Stephanie Preisner's podcast. What did we think of it? Well, you'll just have to tune in on patreon.com/Celtic Ligers to hear more. You also get access to bonus content when you donate €5 a month. Bonus content includes our Brexit movie review, our review of V for Vendetta, and a host of other little goodies. €11 gets you a personalised political cartoon made by yours truly. €2 gets you nothing. You just get to support the podcast and also have your name read out on the podcast as a thank you to our Patreon supporters who make this all possible. In fact, what's that I hear? Oh, it's coming. Thank you to our patrons. This time we're going to say it like Zig and Zag do it, to music. So there's music playing underneath right now.
What song are you playing? Can you play like some Italian disco or something?
Yeah, I'll play I don't know Italian disco. Why am I even bothering to take a guess?
Yeah, I was going to be very impressed if you're going to pull out a deep Italian disco reference. But,
Anyway, there's currently Italian disco playing underneath, whatever the first one came on YouTube, and doesn't have any lyrics, and so we're going to start saying them in like tune with the song. So go.
Bridget Purcell.
Bridget Purcell. So then the next one, Bridget Purcell.
Milky Fox.
Milky Fox. Probably that's going to sync up with it. I'm going to auto-tune my voice as well a little bit.
Oh, amazing. This is going to be really good.
This is going to be so good. Oh, shit.
You should just release this as like its own track, just raise some money for the pod, Kyle O'Neill.
Kyle O'Neill.
That's kind of done to the tune of I'll Fly With You, which used to be our intro until we were worried that we would get sued.
Only 8 more to go. Connor Barry.
Liam
McCartan. Now remember, he's an experimental musician, so you better make this one interesting for him.
Okay. Liam McCartan.
You can have that one for free, Liam.
That was a football chant, basically.
Claire O'Neill.
This one's going to be a real football chant.
Claire O'Neill.
Niall McGillicudder.
Okay, this one I'm going to do like fuck. Like I said, I'm on auto-tune, so I'm still thinking about that.
What about The Sash by Father War? That's a nice song.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. In fact, put that underneath.
Niall, and then I'm going to do the echoes myself. Niall. Okay, cool.
Wrong, it's pronounced Gillicudder.
McGillicudder, okay. If you say so.
Ronan Carey, Ronan Scary. Okay, Neve Kelly.
Neve Kelly. I'm going to do it like a passing car, right? Neve Kelly.
Okay, that's not a song, but good.
No, it'll sound great when it's auto-tuned.
Fine. To what?
To whatever song is playing underneath right now.
Paulie Doyle.
Paulie Doyle. They're getting worse. No,
that was good. That was like a Son O song,
Yeah, okay.
Richard Zimmerman.
Oh,
what about his?
fuck.
Give me an or. Give me an I. Oh no,
Yeah.
let me hear you say or. Let me hear you say I. Let me hear you say C.
Oh, God.
Let me hear you say H. Let me hear you say
Say
A.
Ard. Let me
Let
hear me say
let me hear you say
Zimmerman.
or. Let me hear you say G. Let me hear you say space. Let me hear you say Z. Let me hear you say I. Let me hear you say M. Let me hear you say M.
Again.
Let me hear you say E. Let me hear you say or. Let me hear you say M. Let me hear you say A. Let me hear you say N. And last one,
Yep.
Bo Boys.
You
Joyce.
gotta figure out Joe Joyce. Gotta give him a good one.
What about the sash my father never wore?
I don't know what that is, so you can keep saying it.
It's a unionist song. So
Oh.
sometimes you hear Republicans sing it, the sash my father never wore, as opposed to the sash my father wore.
Right.
Okay.
No, wait, I didn't say Joe Joyce. I didn't do it in a sing-songy way.
Oh, yeah.
Let me hear you say Joe Joyce. I know that's similar to the previous one, but
it's exactly the same, but lazier.
Yeah, but it was going to be Joe Joyce. You know, I'm gonna make Joe Joyce the producer. You know, like when they turn the producer. Hey, Joe Joyce, turn up the dial.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
There's a
turn the fucking mic on.
There's a,
like, yeah.
Yeah. There's a UK drill producer, and his his name's like Money or something. But
Skrilla.
But his tag is, Mom, Money's making beats again.
Yeah, that was funny. We should have something like that.
We should.